Drawing should be fun, right? I mean, that's the reason that I do it. But sometimes I make it less fun, more challenging, harder. I set up rules and restrictions for myself. Certain colors, certain tools, certain subjects, certain formats. And for me, this is like any kind of physical exercise. It doesn't kill me, makes me stronger. And I force myself into problems so that I can come up with new solutions and grow. And you only grow by doing things that are new or unfamiliar or challenging or hard. And when your skills develop, drawing becomes more fun and easier. I make it harder to make it easier. But sometimes I look back at old sketchbooks in which I gave myself some kind of problem or limitation, and I wonder, how did I put up with this? I want to give you an example by showing you my sketchbook volume 43, which is full of challenges and growth. So I kicked the book off with some drawings that I did at a gallery show of Patricia Piccini's work. She makes these life-size, grotesque, and hyper-real sculptures of fictional species. And but be forewarned, if you check her out, she is pretty creepy. And I drew these with a dip pen and with mustard-colored ink. And I stuck to that palette through the rest of the book. That was the limitation I gave myself. Black, brown, mustard, that's it. Here's a selection of hand tools, detailed drawings, but there's something kind of cold and unexpressive about them. I think they weren't really my hand tools, and I didn't really have any connection to them. But it seemed like a challenge. The fewer our wants, the nearer we resemble the gods, Socrates. True originality is never something sought after, or as it were, signed. Rather, it is a quality belonging to something touched in the dark and brought back as a tentative question. And then here's a few portraits of some thuggish-looking men from old mugshots, and also some excerpts from things that I'd been reading at the time. One of them reads from the Jefferson Bible. Do not bear grudges, be modest and unpretentious. And there's a statistic on credit card usage. Bottle of baby shampoo. This is from the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, where I watched them blow up the balloons. I was also doing occasional illustrations project for an online magazine called The Morning News. And this one went with an article which the author imagines that the events of their childhood were being covered by the New York Times. Boy 11 eats beets first time, stuns community in Ohio. Nose picker gets reprimand. Mustard and brown. That's it. Here's some notes about my daily life. My dog Joe. Tea thermos. Sheep. Notre Dame. Coiled up electrical cord. Here's a helpful page that documents the pens that I was using at the time. A dip pen and a glass pen with a corrugated steel nib and a bamboo pen and a Faber-Castell Pitt pen, also in brown, and a really uncomfortable metal fountain pen with a stiff nib. By and large, these are not comfortable and expressive tools. They are stiff, they're inflexible, they are rough, and they're not very responsive. And the sketchbook itself is from Canson, and it's made with cold press watercolor paper, which is pretty stiff and pretty dull too. And it's not comfortable to draw on with ink, which is what I was doing a lot of the time. A few pages later, I began a process that made things even harder. I prepared the pages to follow with splashes of brown and orange, sometimes ink, sometimes watercolor. I would wet the pages and then splash on the color with no idea what I would do on the page later on. And that was the challenge, was to deal with whatever's on the page when I came to it. And that was a challenge that I continued for the rest of this sketchbook. So I would turn the page and, oh, great, it's like a big orange mess. I'm going to have to do a drawing on top of it. and I never knew what was going to come up. That was the surprise and the challenge. Here's a drawing of a sock doll made by a friend's daughter. And this is the stuff on my desk, drawn with a Pitt pen and annotated with a dip pen and brown ink. Sometimes this technique worked great. It was totally suited to the subject matter, like this drawing that I did on a sketch crawl with a group that I went to the Museum of Natural History with. And there's this kind of Da Vinci vibe, antique pages, and it sort of suits this anatomical stuff. A view from my office. But this is a breakfast sandwich. Really hard to see. This is also from a sketch crawl at the Museum of Natural History. This is a Brontosaurus. No, an Apatosaurus excelsius. Mexico, Puerto Vallarta. Some random building. And I was drawing other people by the pool, and I wrote, "We are all red and hairy apes." And hanging around a swimming pool is a powerful reminder of the ravages of time on the human body. One observes moles, scars, hairs, folds, wrinkles, lumps, crevices, and other horrors on all but the youngest specimens. Here's a drawing of my friend Richard Bell. Drawings of some other friends. This is a different kind of experiment where I forced myself to do a drawing of the clutter on my desk, and then I took a photograph of it and drew the same scene again. And then I compared what the results were and what the feeling was. So basically, what I'm doing in the sketchbook is I'm pushing myself, making things as hard as possible. Limited palette, hard, rigid, unyielding tools, rough paper that wasn't particularly happy with me, splashes of paint that I'd have to negotiate through, some challenging subjects, some of which I'd never drawn before. And that's a process that I come back to a lot, is having this kind of limitation. It's a way to demand more from myself, not to just get comfortable, but to always push myself in new directions. And a lot of times I end up with drawings that I don't really like. But again, they make me grow. They make me develop. I feel in a way my training days are somewhat over, but not really. I can still come up with new rules for myself and new limitations. And the ones I do now are really pretty different from when I did this book. But everything I learned in this book is now in here and has been helping me to do the drawings that I do now, to feel more free, to feel more loose, to feel more like I have a bigger and bigger repository of experiences and skills that I can draw upon when I draw upon other things. So if you are finding yourself struggling, good. That means that you're in unfamiliar territory. You're growing, you're doing new things. You'll fall on your face a lot of times, but you'll pick yourself up and you'll keep going. If you're finding that everything is fluid and easy, it'll get boring soon, I promise you that. And you might even give up drawing because you don't feel challenged anymore. There's so many ways to challenge yourself. Find some. Don't set yourself up impossible tasks. Set yourself up one task that you can challenge yourself on, and then another, and then another. That is what having a life of drawing, learning is all about. Actively pursuing new things, new exercises, new growth, new ideas. Keep it new. Keep it fresh, no matter how long you've been doing it, no matter how old you might be. Have fun.